Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our tropical reef exhibit. My name is Haley. I'm standing over in front of that big curved viewing window. If you'd like to join us, feel free to come on over. Our show's going to get started in just about 10 minutes. We're going to be learning all about this habitat and the animals that call it home. This is our largest exhibit here at the aquarium at a little over 350,000 gallons of water. Our tropical reef gallery is a giant circle around this one habitat, so you may have seen it several times while walking to this point. We have one of our largest animals in here, front and center. That is our Queensland grouper. It's currently being cleaned by one of our cleaner wrasse. They're about the size of a finger, and they're bright blue with stripes on their body. But if you're joining us, feel free to come on over. We are currently looking in at all of those tropical reef animals. We have a zebra shark up top. This looks like a mangrove ray. There's our rainbow runner, that fish up there with the stripes on its body, has blue stripes along it. Our barracuda's topping on the left. It's that animal with the really long body. And it even looks like one of our zebra sharks may have laid an egg recently. If you look down in this yellow coral, you will see something that looks a little fuzzy and a little slimy. I believe those are the tendrils or the stringy parts of the egg sac that hold it in place. And it looks like our divers are getting ready. You'll see them getting in the water in the top right. If you're just joining us, feel free to come on over. We are going to get started with a show in just a moment. If you're up against the window, feel free to take a seat or stand against that back railing. We want to make sure everyone can see throughout the entire duration of our show. And when our diver comes out, we will be talking to them. But I'm going to need it to be pretty quiet because I need to be able to hear what he's saying, or she, what they are saying. And it's a great opportunity for all of us to learn and explore about the amazing animals that call this habitat their home. Now I can see a Napoleon wrasse on our upper right. That is that blue-green fish. Kind of looks like it's wearing a skirt because its fin is very rigid or has folds, pleats in it. And here's our lovely eagle ray coming to say hi. Now that Napoleon wrasse up there on the right started its life out as a girl, but it is now a boy. They're all born girls. But when the male in the group dies, the female becomes the male. Yeah, we actually have an exhibit in this gallery for animals that can change their gender. There are also a group of animals that can self-fertilize or even make clones of themselves out in the ocean. Many different types of salamanders, frogs, even some mammals. So again, feel free to come on over if you're joining us near the window. I want to ask that everyone's either seated or standing against that back railing, just so everyone can see throughout our show. It looks like our divers are getting ready to join us. I can see that yellow microphone cable on the right side. That's going to help them communicate with us and for us to communicate with them. Now, they'll only be able to hear what I'm saying, but they still can see into our gallery, so feel free to give them a wave when you see them, or thumbs up when you agree with something they say or something they're asking. Here comes one of our little bonnet heads. I say little, but that is a full-grown female. And this grouper, who is photobombing me right now, is a juvenile grouper, so if you can imagine it, that is a very small one. That fish is going to live to be around 70 to 80 years and grow its entire life. Right now it's about 25. So it's going to eventually be around the size of a Honda Civic. So just about the size of a small car. 9 feet long and a few hundred pounds. I believe it's around 800 pounds. Right now I think it's around 200 to 300 if I'm not mistaken. We have some of our unicorn fish joining us.
What are you going to do with it when it gets that big?
It's going to live in here. That's a great question. What are we going to do with our Queensland grouper when it gets that big? It's still going to live in here. This exhibit is the largest one we have at the aquarium. It's 350,000 gallons of water, actually a little over that. This whole gallery is actually a big loop around this one habitat, and you've probably seen it several times as you've made your way over here. So that tunnel as well as the first viewing window are also continuations. And from here to that shelf, it's actually a lot further back than it looks. The magnification of the water makes everything look a lot closer than it actually is. And if you ever get the chance to go on a behind-the-scenes tour, you get to go to the very top of this exhibit. We call it the Top of Trop because it is the top of the tropical exhibit. It's a very neat opportunity, and you may even get the chance to feed some of these animals while you're on that tour. Now, I mentioned that we have unicorn fish, but not all of these unicorn fish have horns. It is unknown why some do and some don't. It's also unknown what the purpose of the horn is, but you can go home and tell all your friends that you saw a real live unicorn. And if you continue after a show to go over to the sea dragons, you can also say you saw a real live dragon. You could add sea dragon. That'd be cool as well. Looks like one of our zebra sharks is showing off her beautiful fins. Actually, there's 2 of them right in front of us. Those are those really long sharks with the flowing bodies and the polka dots all over. Again, if you'd like to join us, we're going to get started with our show in just about 3 minutes. Feel free to come on over. Looks like our divers are getting all ready. If you're joining us near the window, we're going to have everyone either take a seat or stand up against the back rail. We just want everyone to have a chance to see. Oh, it looks like our diver's nice and festive today. Now, before we turn our diver's mic on, I want to just let everyone know that our divers are all volunteers. We're really lucky to have them here. And we want to show our appreciation. So once I turn on that microphone and say hi, you guys can all wave or clap. And they'll see us doing all that. They can see in here pretty well. And you'll always notice that our divers always go with a buddy. Just make sure everything's okay. And I got an okay sign, so I'm going to go ahead and turn on that microphone. We're going to find out who we're talking to. Once again, for those of you just joining us, my name's Haley. I'm part of our education team here at the Aquarium of the Pacific, and we are going to be starting our 1:30 dive show.
Hi, Haley. Hi, everybody. My name is Diver Lindsay, and welcome to our Blue Corner exhibit.
Hi, Lindsay. Can we all give Lindsay a big round of applause?
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much for joining us. What are you guys doing in there?
Well, we are doing a couple things. So, I know Haley kind of briefed you guys on how big this exhibit is. It's 350,000 plus gallons, and it's actually a lot bigger in here than it looks. So, we're doing a very special task right now. You can see up here on my left, your right, we have a couple divers, and they're going to be going around to all those different pockets that when you make that big loop, you see all the different parts of our exhibit. So those 2 right there have a very special job. They have to go to each corner of our exhibit and check every single corner of it. So they have to check to make sure all the coral is in place and placed correctly, that all of the sand and rock work is okay. They have to check all of our pumps and our vents to make sure nothing's blocked and everything is working. And they have to check the health and safety of all our animals. It's a task that we call swim around. It's a pretty big job, and we have to do it every single day.
Wait, so they're checking all the corners in Blue Corner?
That's right. Who would have thought, right? And actually, this is not just from our imaginations. This is a real dive site that you can go visit. It's located in Palau, which is off of in between Guam and the Philippines. And so for a little perspective here, if I'm a guest looking at the exhibit, I'm looking at a big expanse of coral reef. But then off to my right, your left, we have this blue painted wall. And that's there for a very specific reason. It's to simulate the open ocean. At the real blue corner, there's a convergence or coming together of two very strong currents. And when those currents smash together, it creates kind of like a volcano of an upwelling of very nutrient-rich water. So it has a lot of plankton and bacteria in it. And what that does is it attracts a lot of little fish, little beautiful coral reef fish like this. And that attracts bigger fish, and pretty soon you have this crazy plethora of different fish life that you see here. Now the current at that dive site is really strong, so when divers visit that site, we have special hooks that are drilled into the rocks, not into the coral because we don't want to harm the coral. And the divers will actually hook into those loops on the rocks, and they'll just float here like this, and it's like watching the most amazing nature show you've ever seen in your life.
That's pretty incredible. Now, I noticed that you've been kind of mobbed by these two stingrays. They have polka dots on their body, and they keep diving right next to your face. What's going on there?
Those are our eagle rays. They are the most recent additions to our exhibit here at the aquarium. They are very beautiful, as you can see, and what you guys are seeing is actually a real treat, because in the real dive world, when we're out in the ocean, when we see an eagle ray, everyone starts freaking out, and they're all trying to take pictures as fast as they can, and you guys are up close and personal. These guys are actually not full grown. They can get a lot bigger, so between the tip of their nose and the end of their tail, they can get to be about 16 feet long, so these guys have a lot of growing left to do.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. They look very beautiful. Do you know why they got the name Eagle Ray?
I actually have no idea, so if you want to enlighten me, I'll be happy to be your student.
I think it's because they jump out of the water. I'm not 100% sure, but when they do jump out of the water, they kind of soar across the top like a skipping stone. It's a really neat behavior that I've gotten to see up close and personal, but unfortunately, no one told me that they did that, so I thought someone fell in the water when I heard a big splash.
Oh, no.
It's okay. I figured out what it was after it popped its head back up, but I think that's why they got the name. I'm not 100% sure.
Well, I believe you.
Now, I noticed there's another fish spending a lot of time with you. There's someone hanging out by your hat.
Yes, and it's not because he's our most festive fish here, but he does have the biggest personality. Everyone say hello to Bubbles. Bubbles,
Hi, Bubbles.
is my favorite buddy in here. He loves to hang out with the presenters, and as you can see, he'll hang around by my Bubbles, and that's how he got his name. He uses our exhalation like his own personal jacuzzi jet, so when we blow, he lets it tickle his belly, and when we don't produce enough of the exhalations, he'll start pecking at our heads to remind us that we need to breathe more for him. So, oh, he didn't want it. Well, what can he do? And Bubbles is actually a perfect example of one of our most important jobs here. He's a very good example of animal observation. So I like to say that all the animals in here have fishionalities, just like people have personalities. Every fish in here has their own behaviors, things they like, things they don't like. And diving here every week, we really get to know these animals up close and personal. So if we're ever here and things don't look right, if Bubbles wasn't coming up to us being very shy, or, hiding in the rocks, or avoiding us, we would know that that's not right. And we would have to alert our husbandry staff, who would tell our vet, because for all the animals here, we only have one full-time vet. That's a pretty big job. So it really is up to us to be the eyes and ears of the animals.
That's right. We only have one vet per 10,000 animals that we have roughly here at the aquarium. So our divers are really important to being the eyes and ears when our vet can't be everywhere at once. We do have one part-time vet we just hired, as well as a couple of vet techs to also help out our veterinarian. But our divers play a very crucial role because they're the ones who get in the water every day with these animals and really get to know them. Even animals like Bubbles, who have big personalities, and animals that don't have those big personalities as well. They're always the first to notice when something is wrong. Now, I noticed that down there in that staghorn coral, it looks like a zebra shark may have laid an egg.
Yes, they do, actually. They have been recently. So you can see those fibers down there at the bottom. And actually, I will bring a tendril up here so you guys can see it. So our zebra sharks lay eggs, but our bonnethead sharks do not. They do live birth. So it's kind of cool to see that not all sharks give birth in the same manner. Now, all of our zebra sharks in here, they are not laying fertilized eggs. So chickens can lay unfertilized eggs, and zebra sharks can do the same. And when they do, they have these, it looks like a sack, so you guys can actually see some shark eggs here at the aquarium if you want to see them up close. And they have these fibers attached to it. Now, these fibers are really sticky. Now, I'm in the water, so you can't really tell, but if I were to put it in your hands, it is extremely sticky. You can see it sticking to my glove a little bit, and it's sticky so it'll stick to this coral right here so the egg doesn't float away, because as I said, in Palau, there's a very strong current. So the egg could blow away if the current's picked up, or an animal could pick it off. So it secures the egg to whatever the animal wants to lay its egg in. So we collect all these eggs and we save them for education purposes, and then we get the very lovely task of having to clean the staghorn coral afterwards.
Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun. That's so interesting. And you mentioned that our bonnetheads, those little sharks, there's one back here that look like hammerheads. Those sharks don't lay eggs. So how do they have babies?
They do live birth, so when they swim by, you can see on the underside of the bellies where the babies would come out. So they have fewer offspring as compared to a zebra shark because they're able to produce eggs, and these eggs are a lot smaller. I don't remember the gestation period of bonnethead sharks, so if you do happen to know how long, I don't remember. I just know that it's slightly shorter. And as Haley had said, these bonnethead sharks are full grown, so those look like babies, and in some cases, some sharks that do give live birth, their babies are about the size of bonnethead sharks, but these guys are among the smaller members of the hammerhead species, or of that family, and these guys don't get really any bigger than this.
Now, speaking of sharks, aren't you worried at all about being in the water with so many sharks?
No, absolutely not. That's the most common question that we get as divers at the aquarium. And the easiest way to put it is if you have a dog or a cat at home, you're so used to their presence and they're so used to your presence, and they rely on you for things like food and love and shelter and care. And that's very much how our sharks see us. They see us and they associate us with food and care and such. So they don't want to harm us. And even out in the ocean, we're loud and we have all these hoses and we make a lot of noise. Sharks, for the most part, don't want anything to do with us because 75% of the sharks' population is shorter than I am. So really, they really just don't want anything to do with us.
Yeah, that's right. And if you take a close look at these sharks, you'll notice they have one thing in common, and that's a very tiny mouth. So you can tell a lot about an animal by the way its mouth is shaped and where it's located. And these sharks have very tiny mouths at the very bottom of their bodies, which shows me that they're going to eat things on the bottom of the ocean. They're not going to actively chase things down. They also have very teeny tiny teeth and are nothing to be afraid of. In fact, we have lots of sharks off our coast, and they're all smaller than me for the most part. About 75% of the sharks around the world are under 3 feet long. So when you touch those bamboo sharks today outside, those are also around 3 feet. That's their maximum length. And that's a good place to see one of those shark eggs. They have them all the time, and you can always go out and ask the education volunteer there if you can see them. So you mentioned that Bubbles is your favorite animal. Do you have a second favorite?
Ooh, second favorite. Let's see if he's hanging out here. Oh, there he is. My second favorite is right behind me. That would be our Queensland grouper. And I know you guys had been briefed on him a little bit. He is our biggest bony fish here. He's extremely lazy. He likes to do 2 things, and you're looking at one of them. He is now currently getting a spa treatment from our cleaner wrasse. You'll find him here probably about 3 or 4, sometimes 5 times a day getting clean. And that's really cool because it's a symbiotic relationship. That cleaner wrasse gets a nice full belly, picking off all of the gross dead particles off of the Queensland grouper, and he can stay healthy. Now, his second favorite hobby when he's not getting cleaned is he loves to eat. If you want to see him eat, you can come back at 3. We're going to be feeding him and several other animals in this exhibit. Now, watching him eat is really cool because what he does is he opens his mouth, and he doesn't have teeth really. They're little tiny serrated. They're almost like teeth, but it's like more bumpy than that. And he'll suck in whatever's directly in front of him, and he'll grind it up and he'll chew on it. But his mouth is just so big that he takes just about anything that's in front of it with him. And one time that happened to be my mask. Now, I did get it back, but he'll eat just about anything.
Wow, that's pretty crazy. So you mentioned that all of these animals call this one place their home. What in this environment makes it so special?
Oh, well, I'm actually holding a piece of that, and that would be our coral. So Palau is an area that has so much beautiful coral. And part of that reason is it is a shark sanctuary. It was one of the first in the world ever to be produced. And that means that whole area is being protected, and that means the coral there is also being protected. So coral is actually found only 1 to 2% on the ocean's floor, but about 24 to 25% of ocean life relies on coral. So it's a rare treasure. And as you can see, I have an example right here in front of me. This is golden staghorn coral. It's very beautiful, but you can see that ours is also very fake. We have these pegs that are on the bottom of them, and that's how we attach them to our rockwork. We have lots of holes drilled in the side. Now, why do we do that? That's also a common question that we get because everyone thinks that the fish can tell the difference. And they can't. They haven't figured it out yet, so don't tell them. But we do this for a really specific reason. Most importantly, coral is a super beautiful animal. It's not a plant and it's not a rock, but it grows really slow. It grows about 1 inch a year. So this little tip right here would take a year to grow. If you look behind me and you see all the different shapes and sizes of coral that we have, if we took this much out of a real life setting, we would devastate the ecosystem because, as I said, only about 1 to 2% of the ocean's floor has coral on it, and we don't want to harm that ecosystem.
That's right. I just want to point out really fast, if you look in our top left corner over there, you will see one of our sea turtles. We are being graced with his presence. We have 2 boys here, and they love to come up once every few hours, and he's going back down now, it looks like. But sea turtles can hold their breath a really long time, so it's always a treat when we get to see them. And like you mentioned, coral grows really slow, so if we all take a look at our fingers, and specifically at those fingernails, our fingernails grow about as fast as coral does. So it's about 1 inch a year, sometimes less. And we can do our part to help protect coral in many different ways, but you guys are doing an awesome job today just by coming and learning about it and also supporting the Aquarium of the Pacific. We're a nonprofit. We not only take care of confiscated coral from people trying to bring it into the country illegally, but we also do research with coral. What are some of the ways that you in your daily life like to help coral?
Oh, there's so many different things. And that's the cool thing is you can just find just about any way to help the environment and subsequently help coral. What I personally like to do is I chose energy efficient appliances for my home, and I do try to use them after the sun goes down, which you would think it makes a difference, but it does. And I use my bike on the weekends. I try not to use my car as much, or I'll carpool with friends. The biggest thing, though, I do 2 things every single day. I recycle, and when I always pick up trash when I see it, even if it's not mine, because especially recently with all the rain that we've had, think about all the trash that's sitting on the ground. That rain washes it into the drains, and it goes into the ocean. All our oceans are connected, so anything that goes into our ocean here, there's no walls dividing. It could, in theory, float all the way over to the other side of the world where Palau is located, and we don't want to harm our oceans with any more trash than's already in it.
That's right. Just by protecting our oceans here, we are also protecting our oceans all over the world. We can reduce what we use, which is what I like to do the most, is when I go to the store, I buy products that are packaged in as little packaging as possible, and it really does make a difference because lots of companies and organizations are realizing that people don't want to buy big plastic-covered food, really. So I go to the bulk section as much as I can. If I can't find it there, I try to find an eco-friendly version on the shelf. But again, you guys are doing a lot just by coming today, and I want to thank you all again for coming out. Is there anything you want to say before I let you go?
Thank you guys for coming, and I wish you all a very Merry Fishmas and Happy Holowaves.
All right. Would you mind sticking around for a few minutes?
Of course, divers love to take selfies, so come on down and get a picture and a high five.
Yeah, if you guys want to come down, say hi to our divers. They'd really love it. They love meeting you guys. They can see and hear very well. On behalf of the aquarium, once again, I want to thank everyone for coming out today. Have a great rest of your holidays, and I'll be sticking around if you have any questions. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our tropical reef exhibit. My name's Haley. I am part of our education team here at the Aquarium of the Pacific. We're going to get started with our dive show in just about 5 minutes. Feel free to come on over and join us. We are currently standing in front of that large curved viewing window. You're more than welcome to come on over. We're going to be talking with a real diver today. And we're probably going to get the opportunity to watch some of our animals get fed. So feel free to come on over if you want to watch. It'll be a great show. We're going to talk to an actual diver and explore and discover a little bit about the animals that call this habitat home. The what fish?
What is that fish that?
So for those of you joining us for our tropical dive show, feel free to come on down next to the window. We just ask that you either take a seat or stand against the back railing. We just want to make sure everyone can see throughout the duration of our show. Looks like our divers are getting all set up. You can see their fins on the top right, and you'll notice those animals are getting very excited hanging out over there. This is the largest exhibit we have here at the aquarium. It's a little over 350,000 gallons of water, and if you made your way through our gallery in order to get here, you have seen this exhibit from many different angles. That first viewing window as well as that tunnel are all continuations of this one habitat. It is the home of about 800 animals and many, many types of fish. For those of you waiting, go ahead and take a look at all those different types of fish, all the differences between them. They're all different shapes, sizes, colors, and they even spend time in different areas. You'll notice that those little yellow tangs are hanging out towards the staghorn coral on our right. They use that for protection, and they also have those pointed snouts in order to bite off little bits of algae growing along the coral. Now, when our diver joins us, I just want to remind everyone that our divers today are volunteers. We're very lucky to have them. And when we're talking to them, they can hear me, but they can't hear you. So if you want to communicate, we use hand signals. You can wave hi. You can clap. They can still see that you're clapping. You can give thumbs up, thumbs down, depending on what they're saying. Yes, we do have our Queensland grouper joining us right up in front. That is just a portion of how big that fish is going to get. Looks big now, but that animal is only about 25 years old and will live to be about 70 to 80, growing its entire life. Once again, if you're joining us down by the window, you can take a seat or you can stand against that back railing. Either one's fine. I just want to make sure there's enough room for everyone to see. We can all wave hi as our diver gets bonked in the head by one of the sharks. I know. Those zebra sharks don't care where they're going. No, he really wanted that hat. Or she, sorry. All of our zebra sharks are ladies. They're beautiful ladies. Oh, and I got that okay sign, so I'm going to start our show. Welcome, everyone. My name's Haley. I'm going to be making my way right over here to go turn on that diver's microphone. Feel free to join us. as we get started with our 3 o'clock dive show. Hello in there.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our 3 o'clock dive feed. My name is Diver Lindsay.
Hi again, Lindsay. It's lovely to see you again. How you doing in there?
You know, we are feeling pretty good. It's a winter wonderland over in our Blue Cavern exhibit. It's very chilly there. It's about 57 degrees. And here it's a very nice 78 degrees, so we have a bit of a tropical vacation going on in here.
That's pretty warm, isn't it?
It is, but that is the average temperature of this actual dive site, which is located off of Palau, which is in between Guam and the Philippines. That tends to be a warmer place year-round, and their waters are very much warmer than ours here. So we need to maintain it at that temperature because that's what these animals are used to.
That makes a lot of sense. So what are you guys doing in there today?
Well, as you can see, I'm chilling down here by myself, but all my diver buddies are up at their stations at the top of the water. You guys are in the right place at the right time because we're doing a feeding. So I know you guys heard Haley talk about hand signals, so my diver friends can't hear me either. And that same rule applies out in the ocean. We can't talk to each other, so we use hand signals. We'll do things like, okay, my ear is bothering me, or look, a shark. We do things like that so we can communicate. And these guys are using they're waiting for a very specific secret hand signal, which lets them know that it's time to start the dive feed. So, if I show you guys, maybe you can help me out because I do see lots of future divers here in the audience. So, what we do is we just take our finger and we wave it in a swooping motion just like this. So we'll do it on the count of 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. And swing those fingers. There we go. And just like that, my divers knew exactly what to do. So thank you guys.
All right. Thank you guys so much. You deserve a round of applause.
That's right.
You're now honorary divers for the day.
That is right. So as you can see, as soon as our divers come down, the fish know exactly what's happening, and it creates a bit of a feeding frenzy. But there is a method to our madness, if you can believe that or not. So all our divers have these white PVC buckets, and in all our buckets, we have restaurant quality seafood. We have a variety of things like clams and squid and sardines. It just depends on what the animal is. All the food is weighed out, and it has a vitamin complex sprinkled on top. So all of our animals are eating very, very good food. Now these guys over here, this is a scatter feed. This is what you're seeing here. And we do that to distract our more aggressive animals while we target or hand feed our slower animals that have very specific nutritional needs, like you see on my right side, your left side.
Yeah, I just saw one of the golden trevallies, those fish with the bars on their side. Pay attention to those throughout the feeding. Because you'll notice those bars start changing darker and darker the more they are eating. That's their way of communicating. But I just saw one of them nibble one of the other fish to scoot it away.
Yes, so these guys don't really have teeth. They like to open their mouths and torpedo themselves into whatever's in front of them.
That's what I like to do too.
I know, same. Exactly, me too. So these guys are actually our most aggressive fish in this exhibit. It's not our sharks, it's not our rays, it is our golden trevallies. And this is a very difficult feed, so every diver that does this should always get a round of applause because it is a chaotic ballet that they are doing. And what they have to do is they need to try to target our golden trevallies and keep them busy so we can hand feed our mangrove ray and our Queensland grouper and our Napoleon wrasse.
Speaking of Queensland grouper, is that big fish getting fed over there?
That is right. So this is their feeding station, our Queensland grouper, this big brown fellow, and our Napoleon wrasse, that lovely fellow down there of the blue-green color. These guys get fed over here, and what they'll do is they'll come up and just kind of pop their mouths open, and we can just give them a piece of fish as they like. Our Queensland grouper is a bit of a piggy, so he always comes back for more, even when we run out. But he's a growing boy, as you can see.
That's pretty amazing. I can't wait to watch it eat. And it looks like we had something placed over here, maybe, I don't know, broccoli?
Yes, we actually make our fish eat vegetables. You guys need to eat your vegetables, and so do the fish. So not every fish in here is carnivorous. Some of them are herbivores. Some of them only like to eat plant life. So that would be our smaller fish. These guys right here, they do eat things like bloodworms and pellets, and they also eat romaine lettuce, and broccoli. And the reason that we feed them that is, believe it or not, a lot of the nutritional value that's in those green products is very similar to what these fish eat out in the open ocean. So a lot of the nutritional composition of algae matches what you would see in broccoli or in that lettuce. So they're able to enjoy that, and it's a treat for them, but it keeps them nice and healthy.
That's pretty awesome. Now I noticed there's something up here in the water. It looks kind of like a flat board. Do you know what that's doing in there?
The board right here with the purple triangle, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is you can see that is a target board. So we have our rays coming up here, and that is for our eagle rays. And they're supposed to come up there, and then they get fed with a prong. They also get fed in the water. So we do things like that with the colored shapes. You can see maybe on the other side we do have another gray board. That's for our sharks, I believe. Or I could have them flipped. But the boards have different colors and different symbols on them, and that's supposed to teach the animals which board they're supposed to go to, and they'll slide right up on it, and we just give them a little piece of fish, and they slide back into the water.
That's awesome. Now I just have to remind everyone out there that I do have to be able to hear our divers, so if we want to use our inside voices, that would be awesome. We are getting to watch a pretty exciting variety of animals getting fed right now. And I heard someone talk about the sharks. Now, I don't notice any of these little sharks getting fed.
So we don't feed these sharks by hand. They do get fed on a target board. That target board is not in the water right now, I believe, but they do use a target board. And we do feed some sharks here at the aquarium by hand. You can see them in our blue cavern exhibit, and those would be our leopard sharks. Their temperaments are very, very docile and very gentle, so we're able to do that. These guys right here, as you can see, their mouths are placed on the bottom sides of their bodies, and their mouths are not very big. So these guys tend to be bottom feeders. They'll scour the bottom of the ocean and push aside the sand and see what little critters are hiding in the sand and snatch them up. You'll notice that our rays are also structured the same way. They have these mouths on the bottom of their bodies, so they will undulate or flap their wings and suck up those critters, and they have what's called a grinding plate, and they'll grind up that food and eat it.
That's pretty awesome. What are some of your favorite animals in here?
Oh gosh, it's endless. I love all of them, but I think among my favorites, it's really hard to pick just one, but he is my favorite right here, our Queensland grouper. And he is awesome because he's just so big, and this is really not even half as big as he can be. He's in his early 20s, and he's about 200-300 pounds right now. They can live to be into their 70s and get to be up to 8 feet, 9 feet long, and 800 to 900 pounds. That's a very big fish. So he's got a lot of growing to do, and now that he's just had a full belly, he's been fed, he's actually come over here to our spa. We have a cleaner wrasse that lives in here, and what the cleaner wrasse does is he goes around to all the different animals and cleans them. So he actually scours all their bodies and picks off all the dead skin or anything that doesn't belong on the animal. So it would be like if you went to go get your nails done. So our Queensland grouper is currently getting his nails done.
That's pretty interesting. Now, how can all of these animals live in the same place out in the ocean?
Say that one more time.
How can these animals live together in the same place?
Well, they live in the same place because it's an ecosystem. So what really unifies all these animals is what you see here behind me. And that would be all this beautiful coral. This coral, they use it for food, they use it for shelter, protection, homes, you name it. Different animals use the coral for different things. So you can see all our animals use our coral here just like it was real, but it's not. It's very, very fake. Don't tell the fish that because they don't know. And
now, why don't we just put fake coral out in the ocean? Wouldn't that work for those fish too?
That would not work because we manage our coral very, very closely. We have to clean everything by hand since it's artificial. As you can see, we have these little white pegs on the bottom of it, so we have to pull them out. And we have to brush it with scrub brushes and reusable diapers and power scrubbers and bleach complexes, and you name it, we use it. So we can't do that out in the ocean because we just can't manage it as closely. But it works really well for the animals in this exhibit.
Yeah, and coral is a very slow-growing animal. It grows just about the same speed as your fingernails. So if you look down at your fingernails and imagine how much they grow in a year, it's just under an inch, and that's how slow most of the coral grows. So if we were to go out to the ocean and take this much coral, it might be thousands of years of growth, and we wouldn't want to do that. So we're really lucky to have this artificial stuff that works so well.
It does, and believe it or not, a fun fact for you is that it actually all comes from Arizona. Now, why Arizona decided to become the authorities on making coral is beyond me, but they are the pros, and that's where we get all our coral.
That's pretty awesome. Now, how is coral doing out in the ocean?
You know, it's actually not doing super well because it's super sensitive to temperature. So if things get too hot or too cold, there's actually two animals that live together to make coral. There's the actual coral itself, which is called a polyp. It's a little tiny animal that replicates itself. And then there's an algae that lives with the coral, and that's called zooxanthellae, and that's what gives coral its color. So when it gets too hot, that zooxanthellae leaves the coral, and that's what we see called coral bleaching. That's when the coral turns all white, and it's no longer protected, and it dies off. And now we're seeing what's called habitat fragmentation. And what that means is if I took the city of Long Beach and I stripped everything down the middle and I took it all out, so all the homes, grocery stores, restaurants, parks, you name it, all of it gone, but we kept the same amount of people, that means there's fewer homes, less places to go, fewer schools for the same amount of people, so everybody's competing for resources with less space. And that's what we're seeing is animals don't have as much food or protection and things that they need because there's less coral. 1 to 2% of the ocean's floor has coral on it, but 24 to 25% of ocean's life relies on coral. So the ratios are a little off, so we need to make sure we take care of that 1 to 2%.
I'm really grateful for this Ray, who's our comic relief today, because
I know.
it's some tough information to take in, but he's keeping it very lighthearted. And there's lots of things we can do here in order to take care of our ecosystems all the way across the world. You might not think that we have a big impact, but all of our oceans are connected. And things that we do here really do affect everywhere in the ocean eventually. So there's lots of things you guys can do in your daily lives. What are some of the things you do?
I like to do lots of different things. I've done things as extreme as choosing energy efficient appliances. I always remember to take my reusable bags to the grocery store. And I always recycle, and I always pick up trash, because any piece of trash that finds its way into the ocean, well, it's going to be there for a really long time. Anytime us divers go out into the ocean, I can't tell you how much trash I see. And think about this. The next time you're out swimming in the ocean, you're actually touching water that at one point was on the other side of the world, because water is always circulating and there's no walls dividing it. So you really are connected with people across the world. So make sure you always pick up your trash, and our oceans would be a lot better for it.
That's right, and you guys are doing a big step towards that right now just by visiting the aquarium and learning about this. You guys are going to go home, tell all your friends everything you learned, right? Oh, I got 2. Awesome, that's a record. Thank you. Yes, we're all going to go home and tell our friends why we do the things that we do and why we love our oceans so much. And you guys are also supporting a nonprofit, us. Like I mentioned at the beginning of our show, our divers are volunteers. The aquarium is a nonprofit, and we use that money to take care of our animals and animals all around the world. And what I mean by that is we contribute money to conservation efforts. We contribute it to doing research here at the aquarium to take care of animals out there. And we also do rehabilitation programs. So there's lots of stuff that every dollar you guys spend here goes back towards helping, and we really couldn't do it without you. So thank you all for joining us today. And before I let you go, is there anything you wanted to say?
Just want to wish everyone a Merry Fishmas and Happy Holowaves, and thank you for coming to play here with us at the Aquarium of the Pacific.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We got a couple of laughs out here. Would you mind sticking around for some pictures?
Of course, we love to take selfies. I'm full of bad puns, by the way, guys. So come on down and get a picture and a high five.
All right. If you'd like, you can go down and say hi to our divers. I know they love it when you guys do that. I'll be sticking around after our show to answer any questions you might have. Once again, on behalf of myself and the rest of the aquarium, thank you all for visiting today and have a great rest of your day. We have a special guest in our upper left corner. If you guys would like to take a look, our sea turtle is up there, gracing us with his presence.